MovieWeb.com.
What's the last thing you remembered?
All of a sudden, there was a light, and then I was falling.
Who are you?
I was supposed to be executed 2 days ago.
And I was in combat. So was I.
Black Ops. Who would do this to us?
We're all brought here for the same purpose. We're being hunted.
What?
This planet is a game preserve. We're the game.
Robert, you know, back 15 years ago, over 15 years ago, when you first imagined the idea for this film, can you talk about the differences now, seeing it finally done, what Nimród was able to bring to it, sort of differences between what you originally imagined and what audiences are going to get to see?
Well, there's a lot of differences. I mean, but the feeling was pretty much the same. I knew I needed to do something that was going to be compared favorably to the original one, and forget at that time Predator 2. And it was a beast. I mean, it was really hard to figure out. So I set on another planet, and then that created a whole set of challenges. And trying to work it out with Arnold's character, came up with something that I thought worked really well with Arnold's character in it. But then 15 years pass, and Arnold's now the governor, so we had to figure out another way to do it, keeping those elements that we liked. And I just needed to bring in another pair of eyes, and I found a great filmmaker to come in and just really focus it on, this is what rocks, this is what doesn't, and this is what we should do. And it was a relief to see him take it on, and then to be a part of it. And after all that time, finally see it done, and it's much better than we ever could have imagined.
Well, and Nimród, coming into this, you know, obviously Robert's a you know, very accomplished director himself. You're working on a script that he created, he's producing it. Was there any sort of nervousness kind of coming into it?
You know, I heard about him once or twice before. It wasn't really that, yeah, it was nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking. Multiple reasons. Robert Rodriguez, he's Robert Rodriguez. He's made the films he has, and he was such an inspiration for me when I was dreaming about making the movies. He was actually out there doing it, and actually my first film, Control, he inspired me to do that. You know, he went down to Mexico to shoot Mariachi. All right, I'm going to go to Budapest and shoot Control. So to meet your hero that's always scary. You know, you don't know what's going to happen. Then you have this predator, this creature who, being a geek, growing up with those films, and it being up there with all my other favorite, you know, science fiction films, it was scary knowing that there's such a loyal fan base, and people love this character as much as they do. But, you know, if you're given that opportunity, I think you have to man up and just get over your geekdom and just do it, so.
Don't. Calm. Please stop doing that.
So I want to ask you to begin with the, you know, there's some real acting in this movie. It's not just shooting and, you know, running through the jungle. There's some real emotional scenes.
Good.
Can you talk about balancing those emotional scenes with the heavy action of the film?
Well, I think it's necessary. I think it's something that unfortunately is overlooked for, you know, in films like this sometimes. I think there's a, you know, it's one or the other, and it shouldn't be that. I think even dramatic films need an element of humor. I think comedies need an element of truth, and action films need believable characters, you know, for you to root for. I think the challenge for me and what was so exciting about this was to play a character who's essentially a villain, who's heroic in spite of all of his less than likable qualities, who's a very selfish individual, who's lost most of his humanity along the way, but who is got his game so on that you have to like him, you have to root for him, and the other killers in this ensemble are forced to rely on him because he's the hunter-killer with the skill set and the tactical and technical prowess that will allow them to survive, or at least some of them.
What is it?
He's here.
We have to leave. Now!
Where's the tough guy?
Run!
Well, there's some great nods in this movie to the original. I love the song at the end credits.
Thank
I
you.
totally noticed that.
Yeah.
And was it important to you to sort of have those sort of nods in the film to tie it together for the fans?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was an atmosphere and a mood created in that original film, and that was certainly something we were attempting to replicate. You know, Robert always wanted to be cautious about and make sure that we're making a standalone film. So let's have those nods, let's have that fun, but let's not lean on it, you know? And so we found that balance, and it was great.
Yeah, I think it was a great balance, and you got to walk that line every day of going, okay, what should we do, what should we not do, to keep it fun, but constantly challenging ourselves to make our own movie, to make a really good movie that stood on its own.
All right, listen up. Everybody do a shell count.
Excuse me, I'm just, what the hell is going on here?
You're being hunted. The cages, the soldier, all of us. We're all brought here for the same purpose. This planet is a game preserve. And we're the game.
I mean, he's obviously the hero of the film, but he's not a hero at all. I mean, is it just sort of the survival of the fittest? Is that what he's just about survival? And tell me a little bit about Royce.
Well, he's a professional killer, and so, you know, when you're playing someone that has given in to, you know, being merciless and vicious, you know, you have to understand that every act like that, no matter how cool the character looks or is in film, every act like that robs you of your soul bit by bit, and suppresses any emotion or level of humanity. And so this Royce is probably the most emotionally shut off or hardened character that I've ever played. And you know, with that, he's an excellent survivor. But there's also an emptiness and a loneliness and a longing for more of something that must have existed in the individual before he shifted. And you have to deliver all of that complexity for it to work. You can't, you know, you can't just rely on, you know, physical strength, or you can't rely on, you know, cool moments. You have to, you know, especially in today's world where so many young people know or have some connection to soldiers, or we know what they look like. They're not dissimilar to myself. They, you know, but that intellectual strength and that self-reliance, those are the qualities of a soldier that succeeds, not the physical brawn. It's even Schwarzenegger's character's strength, physical strength, wasn't what allowed him to prevail over the predators. So I felt it was really important to stay true to all those things.
Without obviously giving away anything about the ending, you can totally see another chapter. You can see more adventures, more stories taking place after this film. Have you guys talked about ideas for a sequel? Ideas of where you might want to see the franchise go, a new franchise?
That's why I wasn't really precious about even the original script I had, because once you've come up with the idea of a predator planet and predators use this as their hunting ground and humans are involved somehow and another, the stories are so numerous, you can come up with any approach. So we have already got several ideas that we could go in for a sequel, and they would all be good ideas, but we would probably put it together and see which one rises to the top, and we made another one and go for that, because there's so many great. Just following Lawrence Fishburne's character around in a prequel would be a great movie, because just the tales he tells, you know, what could people possibly experience on this planet?
And not to give anything away about the ending, but you could see other chapters, sort of the story coming. Is that something you would be interested in doing, returning to this character, returning to this
it's
world?
exciting. The idea of reprising a character like this would be really interesting. You know, I think the film has to.
Of course.
We'll see.
How do we kill them? However you can.